Hi, David Odell here with OdellCompleteConcrete. We're on the job site. This is day one, and right now we're starting to haul everything out of here. The brick planer, the driveway, the walkway, the side yard. It's all coming out. And this is a nice little test for the CTX 100 Vermeer. And it worked really well on this job. The breaker attachment broke the concrete up really easy. Picked up any load I wanted to. Did everything I wanted without any effort. Now, it had been raining a lot down here in Southern California lately, so you can tell by the ground how wet it is. So I'm going to try to stay off that lawn, even though it's dormant right now. We're going to try to keep this low impact on the surrounding area. They had some steps coming down here, some landings on this little walkway to the street. We're going to get rid of those steps too and just make a nice smooth ramp. Now we're going to shoot the existing concrete on the side yard there, because I want to determine the height in to see what the floor level is at the door entrance to the side yard. And from when I visually looked at it, looked like the side yard was much higher than the floor, but after I shot it in with the laser, I found out that it was put in level, which worked out real nice for me. So I'll have a level line going across the front of that house with the new concrete, and then I'll just slope it towards the front yard. Now we're going to putting drains in here along that whole side yard, and we're going to also pick up some downspouts from the gutters. So in order for me to get a core through this curb and get a drain into the backyard, I'm going to have to take out some of this concrete in the parkway, and that's why I saw cut that. Also, we're bringing these drains all the way to the backyard, so we're going to take out this section of the patio as well. So I'm going to cut that straight with the back of the house. And then I'm going to grind the saw cut at a 45-degree angle, so I have a smooth edge there to pour up against. And then I can put a nice half-inch radius on the new stuff, and it'll match fairly decent. So I'm coming down that 3-foot walk with the 3-foot Vermeer, and it stays right on top of the walkway, so I'm not messing up planters or grass or anything like that. You can break those walkways up pretty easily though with a 20-pound sludge and a pry bar, especially when there's no steel in it. Now this driveway here is running about 3 inches thick. They used a 3/4 rock in the mix design. It's probably like a 2,000 psi 3/4 rock mix. So they probably tailgated that originally. So I got my brother Doug over here too on this particular job site. He has a dump trailer as well. A little bit higher load capacity than mine. So we're going to load both trailers up and knock this out. We did about 15 yards of concrete removal in about 6 hours. And that's the side yard for the walkway, the driveway. This is a real sandy soil, so it doesn't get too sticky, a little bit, but not as bad as like a clay soil would. So this is really good soil for concrete. It's non-expansive, in other words. Now I was able to come down this side yard, which is kind of rare with any kind of equipment, because on that fireplace, between the wall and fireplace, we have about 4 feet. And then of course the gas meter's on that side, and we're still at about 4 feet. But I was able to come down it with this piece of equipment, and I broke the concrete right down the middle, because the concrete's bound in there between 2 fixed objects, the block wall and the house. So it's difficult to get out, even with a jackhammer in this situation. So by me going down the middle and crushing the middle section up, now we have space to hand jackhammer from the wall in and from the house in. So then it's easy removal. Not quite enough space in there to turn to really hit it close to the house, but we were able to weaken it up a lot. Now this little area is going to get widened all the way to the property line as well. The homeowner did a lot of the prep in anticipation for us to arrive here. He removed the gates, he moved the valves. He's also going to be adding he's going to bring a plumber in, add a water line to the other side of the garage, so they'll have water bibs on both sides of the garage. So right now I have the tooth bucket on here. It's a 42-inch tooth bucket on this Vermeer, and that's scooping it up real easy. And when I get down and all the concrete's out and I start to fine tune the grade, I'll put my smooth bucket on there and I'll drag it and grade it real nice and tight with the smooth bucket. Very little handwork. Now that low-sided trailer that my brother has is a little easier to dump in than my high-sider. Even though the Vermeer has the lift height, it's just easier to dump on a low side. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention I met one of the guys that's seen me on YouTube. Happens to be a website builder and marketing guy, and he went to my website and he suggested I get it fixed up, and so he went ahead and did it, free of cost for me, because he just felt he had to do it because of the traffic that I may get there from the YouTube channel and elsewhere. So he fixed up my website, and I wanted to see if anyone goes over there, what they think about it, and what other improvements we can do to it. If you could comment on that, that'd be great. Back to the job site. Here we are near that gas line dropping in. You got to be careful when you're breaking concrete around the gas line. The only thing wrapped around that is some 10 mil tape, about 2 or 3 wraps. If you break it at that point, you have to turn it off in the street, and that requires the gas company and a lot of houses without gas. Here's my core guy. He's just going to wedge up his drill against the back of his truck, and then he can crank it into the curb. Built a little dam there so the water wouldn't run down the street, and then he can vac it out. Oh, by the way, the marketing guy that did my thing, his name's Robert, and website is Team DeBello. See this orange line here in the dirt? That's where I'm going to run the drain line. It's going to go right up the middle of this side yard, and then I can just throw some T's and uprights I'm going to go every 10 feet because that's the length of a pipe, and I won't have to cut any pipe. I just T on every length, and then I have a drain. We're going to extend the side yard beyond the existing patio a little bit, about 3 feet, because he wants to set his barbecue right on this particular spot. Here's the mini jackhammer with a clay spade on it. There's a tree root, and that happens to be from the neighbor's ficus tree. Surprising, it went underneath the footing and came back up. This is actually part 1 of a 2-part series. This particular part, we're just going to show the entire setup removal, and in the next part we will show the actual pouring of the concrete. Also, in the next video, I have some tools that I got from World of Concrete. when I went there, met some vendors, and they sent me some stuff, and I'm going to be giving it away in my next video. So this dirt's really easy digging because, like I said earlier, it's sand. Now there's a downspout right there. We're going to tie that into the drain. And this drain system came in real handy because after we had all this concrete out and we had our drains in and we were ready to pour, we had our steel in, we got hit with a lot of rain. And it completely flooded the driveway. Water was filled up, running over the sidewalk. The whole side yard was filled. I had the risers in the drain pipe so the water wasn't coming up high enough to go into the drain, so we pulled all the risers off and drained all the water out of the side yard real quick. A lot of the dirt went out with it, but we got the water out as well, and that was our goal. So at that point we knew the drains worked before we even had to put concrete in here. So every time they put a riser in, they double check the measurement off the wall to make sure it's centered. Now here's the plumber, and what he's using, some soft rolled copper, which is a lot less problems. Normally when you put individual lengths, usually it fails where you solder, and that's why they use this rolled copper, because you don't get failures at splices. So this drain is not only going to pick up this downspout, it's going to go all the way around the front of this garage and pick up another downspout over here, as you can see right there by the new hose bib. The copper's already buried underneath that a little bit lower. So now we have a water bib at both sides of the garage. That's one thing you can never have enough of, that and receptacles. You can never have too many of those around a house. Right now we've got a few string lines pulled and we're cleaning up. We got the string lines set at grade. Now we can dig out to allow to get our 2x4 in there. Now at the bottom, from the front of the garage to the city sidewalk, we'll crown it a little bit in the middle. That way we still match the lawn level, and it saves us from having to remove a lot of extra dirt rather than just going a straight line slope. So he's just got a 4-foot spreader there that he's already string lined the one side of the form. Now he's throwing a 4-foot spreader in with no string line on the secondary form. Now I'm just kind of fine tuning it. I'm working inside the forms. I can gauge off the bottom of that form with my bucket and cut it to grade. Now right here we're just going to build some ladders. In between these boards will be the cobblestone, but we're going to build it on this flat sidewalk. It's easier to nail together. Then we'll carry the thing in place. Now this is the first portion of these stepping stones we're actually building here. We're going to pour them in place. So this is, I believe we have 8-inch gap. These are 8-inch gaps on these stepping stones. And we're going to have about an 18-inch or 16-inch gap along the house and the stepping stone. So the valves will be within that cobblestone area. And then he can run his drip system for possible future potted plants along on the stepping stones. And he can come up with some 1/4-inch tubes to water his potted plants. There's the homeowner here. He's actually out here a lot, doing a lot of the work. And he was wearing a gray shirt, so I gave him one of my shirts eventually. You'll notice that, I think, in the next video. Now when we set these forms going across, instead of just measuring 4 foot on each side, we pull a string line or a chalk line and snap a line across. Then you know it's going to be straight from one side to the other. There you see that chalk line. That's how you get the boards to go straight across rather than measuring individually. Now we're using the laser level here to mark the risers and the wall for height. Then we can start fine-tuning this grade. So I'm going to go, each one of these drains are going to have about 3/4 of an inch slope from the wall to the drain, or from the house to the drain. And in the middle of each drain will just be level from house to wall. So we set our line stakes to the inside. That way our form number can just run on past. And the line is set to the inside edge of the form as well. I've seen some people set the lines to the outside of the form, and then it gets messed up by the stakes, so that doesn't work so well. Now we have all the risers on the drains cut, and we have the couplings on. All that's left to do is drop in the grates. So they're removable at any time, even after the concrete comes in. That way you could flush the system out with a water hose. Now what we're doing here is we're going to put some expansion foam on a block wall, because we're bound in here between two fixed objects. You need a little expansion, space for movement. We're just going to glue it onto the wall. I used to nail them with mason nails, which was always difficult, and then they're always sticking into the concrete. So you lose some of your expansion just by virtue you have a nail every foot that's sticking into the concrete. So what's the point of the foam? So we came up with this idea: glue the foam on, no nails going from the wall to the concrete. We also put some foam down here at the back of city sidewalk as well, and that's glued on also. And surprisingly, this filled up with water, this whole job site, from the rain, and all the foam stayed in place through all that. We had sump pumps down here at the bottom of the driveway, a lot of stuff going on, and the foam survived it. I'm looking into getting some fiberglass rebar. That's my next step, or fiberglass mesh. They have both. I want to get one or the other to try that stuff out. Looks pretty good, promising. We're just laying some 3/8 rebar and 2-foot centers. On these stepping stones, we're not going to put any rebar in those. Now, after all of that rain that we had, I ended up bringing in some sand. We washed a lot of the dirt out, and from compaction in the rain, we really dropped down a little bit, probably a good 1/2 inch. So I brought some nice sand in to cover everything up. So now we've got somewhat of a base. And the nice thing about using sand is as soon as you throw it on the ground, it's as compact as it's going to get. So I was able to throw the sand over the rebar, grade it with a rake, pull the rebar up through the sand. The chalk lines, they also survived all the rain. but I used number 4 permanent red chalk when I snapped these initially, so they made it through. I just went through them one more time to darken them up the day before the pour. I stuffed all these couplings with some paper. That way the surface water from the concrete bleed wire could go down the drain instead of puddling around them, which is always a mess. Anyway, thanks for watching and stay tuned for part 2. That's the tool giveaway one.